Hey everyone, Jake here. Have you ever thought, I'd love to invest in something? I've been saving up for some time, but I don't really know much about it, so I'll just do it eventually. Well, I was thinking exactly that when I was about 20. Had I just started to do some research and learn a little bit more, I could have probably nearly doubled my money for my initial investment at this point. So if I had invested about $5,000 about 10 years ago, I would have over $10,000 from just my $5,000 investment and not touching it at all. So in this video, we're going to go over why you should invest now instead of later. By the end of this video, you'll see why investing sooner can lead to potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars of more growth in your investments. So let's get into why. So let's get into the power of an index fund. If you don't know what an index fund is, then feel free to watch my video here where I explain it along with some of the other options you have when it comes to investing. Just pause now because we're going to talk a little bit about index funds and I'll see you soon. So if you invest $5 in the S&P 500 and reinvest dividends and adjust for inflation, the year-over-year ROR is about 8%. So this isn't some crazy math problem or some kind of wizardry here.
You're a wizard, Harry.
This is just simple math and looking at history. Over the past 60 years, the average rate of return for the S&P 500 has been about 8%. Average, again, sometimes it is way more, sometimes it's way less, but the average over that period of time, or even over the past 15 years, is about 8%. So it's not like we're just saying, it's not like I'm just saying, invest your money, it'll probably work. It's pretty sure. So based on this year-over-year return, that means you can invest $5 and within 30 years' time, which I know is a long time, you can have that $5 turn into about $50 from not touching it at all. Just put in 5, 30 years becomes 50. So the power of this is something called compound interest. The simple example of this is, say you invest $100 and we have our 8% interest rate. That means within a year, you'll have $108. You should have about $108. Now, the next year comes. Now you have $108 in your investment. Then you now have another $8 tacked on, plus some change. So now, after year 2, you have $117-ish in your investment. If you just continue to wait year over year, that will continue to grow because it's just snowballing. It just keeps building and keeps making itself grow, which having to do nothing in order for that to happen, it's pretty nice. So if you're going to go buy a drink at Starbucks or a drink at the bar, please don't go out, it's a pandemic, then you can kind of think of whatever you're buying. So say a $6 drink at Starbucks. Try multiplying that by 10 or around 10 and see if you're comfortable spending around $60 in future money on a $6 drink at Starbucks. So I don't know if you're like me, but before I started to be a little bit more frugal, I would buy things from Amazon just because I like receiving packages. So if you really think about it though, if you didn't buy the last $25 thing from Amazon, in 30 years time, that's like over $250. So really, the potential junk you buy and you don't really use, it all adds up. It actually is a lot of money in the long run. So I'm not saying you can never buy things from Starbucks or not, enjoy things in the now because, you live in the present, you've got to enjoy some things, of course. But it all just comes down to, are you willing to spend the $5 on some drink or $6 on some drink? Or would you rather have the $60 later on in life? So one of the big issues is that people want to be able to invest and then be rich right away, right? The issue is that's not a reality. If it was, everybody would be rich and then money would be broken because everybody would be rich, so it wouldn't really work out. So again, Compound interest is extremely powerful. The issue is you just have to be patient with it. It takes a lot of discipline. It's not quick. But if you can stay disciplined with at least part of your income and continue to invest, then in 30 plus years time, you could be a millionaire. So one of the big issues though is people like to procrastinate in lots of things in life. Procrastinating when it comes to investing can, again, mean a loss of a lot of money. People often have a lot of emotions when it comes to money. So along with procrastination, if they go to invest and they see that something is $200 to invest, they kind of think, well, you know what, I'm going to wait. I'm going to buy it at $195 instead. So let's take that $200 and $195 to a real life example. So November 25th in 1985, it was the first time that the S&P 500 hit $200. So the week before, it closed at around $195. So a lot of people, if they're emotional about their money, would look at the S&P 500 at $200 and say, you know what, I'm just going to invest in it when it hits $195 again, or when it goes down to $198. Problem though is it never dropped below $200 again. Now I'm not saying this is always going to happen with whatever type of investment you're looking at. Sure, some things may go up and may go down consistently. But if somebody had just invested in the $200 S&P 500 at that time, their one $200 would be worth over $3,000 today. If they had invested then because they were watching this YouTube video, I'm sure they'd be smashing the like button because they would have made a lot of money. So maybe you're thinking, sure, I've got some money saved, but I'll invest in, a couple of years, or I'll invest a little bit later. Now, I'm not going to diminish any type of savings because it's important to have, be able to pay things like for your house, for your electricity, for, water, and also if you're saving for a short-term investment, like you want to buy a car or a house, absolutely continue to save money for that, 100%. But if you're not saving for one of those things, here's the difference that 5 years can make. So say you invest $5,000 in 5 years. In 25 years, that $5,000, assuming you invested in the S&P 500 and an annual return of around 8% compounded, that would be around $32,000. So let's say instead you invest $5,000 right now. In 30 years, so 5 years difference, that investment will actually be worth over $50,000. So that's an $18,000 difference of investing 5 years earlier. Let's go one step further. So we can't go back in time, but let's just pretend that we invested $5,000 5 years ago. So that initial $5,000 investment, 35 years from then, would actually be worth over $74,000. So that other 5 years made another around $24,000. So investing once is great, but let's say that you're able to invest the same amount of money every year. And let's stick with our $5,000 example here. Let's look at the difference. So let's say you invest $5,000 in 5 years' time. And then every year after that, you invest $5,000 more. In 25 years of your first investment, that'll be worth around $429,000. So that's if you're investing $125,000 over 25 years. Now, let's say you started 5 years earlier. So that's another $5,000 per year. So 5 times 5 is 25. So an extra $25,000 invested. Now, after 30 years, you would actually have around $662,000. So again, $25,000 difference there of investing 5 years earlier. So because you invested 5 years earlier, again, you're spending $25,000 more in terms of investing time. But over those additional 5 years, you're actually making $208,000 more. That accounts for the $25,000 that you actually invested over the 30-year time period. So let's go a little bit further here too. Let's say you want to save for 35 years. So maybe you're 20 and you want to start saving and you're going to save for 35 years, up to 55 years old. If you save $5,000 each of those years, so that's a total of $175,000 is a lot of money. But if you invest $175,000 over the 30 years with an 8% return, you'll have over $1 million over that time frame. So this is only looking at the S&P 500. Of course, there are other opportunities and other ways to make a lot of money, but this is just one that's been very consistent, so we'll use it as an example. So what have we learned? If you're able to safely invest money, meaning you don't have outstanding debt and you can comfortably invest some amount of money, invest now. The sooner you invest, the more money you'll have in the long run. Try to think of your purchases as a future cost. And is it really worth it? You know that subscription service you're paying for and aren't really using? Say it's $10 a month. In future money, that's about $100 per month that you're just throwing away. I hope this video has opened some of your eyes to the fact that saving money, while difficult at times, can be extremely rewarding in the long run. What are your thoughts on investing? Do you think that you should invest now, or do you disagree and you think you should wait some time? Let me know in the comments down below. Let me know in the comments down below if you've made your first investment because of this video. Hopefully it's one that you can safely make, and again, please don't do it if you aren't able to do it safely, but if you were, congratulations. I post videos every Wednesday, so I hope to see you next Wednesday. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't, it's free, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Cheers.